Good morning and welcome to the Center for Creative Land Recycling's 5th Annual Redevelopment Summit. Though we're disappointed that we can't convene in person, we are thrilled that you are joining us for our first virtual Redevelopment Summit. My name is Claire Weston and I am the Program Manager at the Center for Creative Land Recycling. I am joined today by my colleague, CCLR's Deputy Director, Jean Hammerman, as well as EPA Region 2 Administrator Pete Lopez and Deputy Secretary of State from the New York Department of State, Kisha Santiago-Martinez, whom we'll hear from shortly. Although the pictures displayed here are in many respects inconsistent with our current reality, I chose to display them to remind us all that the backbone of land reuse and community revitalization is built on partnership and collaboration, coming together to discuss new and transformative ideas, think creatively, and share resources, whether it be in person or online, is at the core of this industry and at the core of who we are as land reuse practitioners. So, in the spirit of collective thinking, throughout this summit, I want you to ask yourself, what does the future of land reuse look like and how can we do better? Since the passing of the Brownfield Law in 2002, the reuse and redevelopment landscape has evolved tremendously. Legislative priorities, federal and state regulations, and societal pressures have shaped and will continue to shape this industry. In many respects, we've made it over the initial mountain of uncertainty and unfamiliarity that hinders every new developing industry. This year, we wanted to celebrate our 5th Annual Redevelopment Summit by considering how far we've come and where we go from here. I'd hoped to do this in person, of course, but I think there's something symbolic about the juxtaposition between exploring new frontiers while planning a week-long virtual summit for the first time. Both are daunting, challenging, and absolutely worth the effort. The groundwork of land reuse has been solidly and strategically laid, so now is the time to build on what's already been accomplished and set our sights on new and innovative means of improving the redevelopment field. Now, before I dive further into what you can expect from this summit and pass it off to Jean, I want to spend a few moments explaining how CCLR fits into this picture. For those unfamiliar with us, our mission is to promote the sustainable, equitable, and responsible reuse of underutilized and environmentally impacted properties. To that end, we educate, advocate, assist, and convene stakeholders to revitalize communities through land recycling. We are also US EPA's Technical Assistance to Brownfields Provider, or TAB provider, for 10 states and numerous territories around the country, including New York. We provide one-on-one technical assistance, organize national webinars, host workshops and conferences, and disseminate newsletters and online resources. In doing so, we work with communities to get them started in land reuse by providing the tools and connections to plan a redevelopment roadmap and champion a pathway. We help communities stay on track by offering current information and expert advice on regulations, funding, remediation, and community engagement so you can meet your milestones. And we help communities get the job done by sharing common documents and introducing you to peers, industry experts, and developers. Now I want to give a special shout out and thank you to the American Planning Association Upstate New York chapter. Many activities in the summit are accredited through the American Planning Association. That means that AICP certified planners can receive up to 6.75 certification maintenance credits for attending the many accredited events. You can log those credits the same way you would for a live event through your APA CM log. Now let's take a little tour of what's in store. So first, I want to give you a sense of the week. We've already had our first day, and yesterday was a fruitful day with our resource roadmap, practical planning and layering funding, session 1, and our office hours featuring DEC updates. Today is June 23rd. Tuesday, and this is our summit kickoff, so you can see the rest of the activities laid out here. This schedule was included in your reminder emails, which you would have received most recently yesterday, Monday morning, and this is also included in the LinkedIn group. I want to highlight our summit webinars, which are taking place today, Wednesday, and Thursday. Today, this afternoon, we have Land Banks as a Force for Community Revitalization and Equity. On Wednesday, Placemaking and the Arts, Integral Elements in Community Engagement. And on Thursday, What's Bright in New York, the Renewable Energy Pathway. You receive reminder emails about each of these emails with your about each of these webinars in your inbox, 24 hours and 1 hour before broadcast start time. We also have daily office hours every day from 2 to 3, and all are welcome. Even if you didn't initially sign up for office hours, you are welcome to join us. This is an excellent opportunity to get professional guidance on your pathway to redevelopment. These Zoom calls will be educational and interactive, and as I said, they're open to all. So, next step, I encourage you to see who you'll hear from and view full details about the office hours session in our office hours directory. The directory is included in your reminder emails, and it is also posted in the LinkedIn group. Daily office hours. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you can see the join information here, but if you download the slide in your dashboard, the full slide deck is in your dashboard, then those join links are right there at your fingertips. On Thursday, we have the peer-to-peer community meet and greet. This is a great opportunity to get to know and exchange ideas with fellow community and economic development coordinators and staff from around the state. We've got a really wonderful panel of speakers for this, really diverse. And so I encourage you to check that out. The join information is included on the slide and was also in your reminder email. All right, how to make the most of your summit experience. We are not in person, obviously, so I want to give you a couple tips on how to make this online summit experience a little bit more personal, a little bit more like a in-person networking or in-person summit experience. So my first recommendation to you is to view recordings. Each of the activities that are part of this summit are being recorded. Some of those recordings will go directly to you a few hours to half a day after after the broadcast is completed. That includes the summit kickoff, this, as well as the 3 webinars, land banking, placemaking, and solar. Office hours and the peer-to-peer are also being recorded. Those will be available in the LinkedIn group, and we will also send a follow-up email after the summit, probably next week, with those links to the recordings as well. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. I do encourage you to participate in our Summit exclusive LinkedIn group. This is a great opportunity to continue the conversation with your peers, ask specific questions to speakers, to get them to elaborate on something they might have said in their presentations. It's a good opportunity to share resources as well, and this is something that we can't do in person, right? So unless you're one of those people that carries a binder full of documents, which you're probably not. So this is a great opportunity to share resources that are relevant to the material that we'll be discussing this week. It's easy to join that LinkedIn group. Just click the link here and then click request access, and one of our admins will be happy to let you in. I also encourage you to check out our Summit directory. Our Summit directory includes speakers and their contact information, info about our sponsors and supporters, and just a little bit of info about CCLR. So where you can find that directory, it's linked here. It's also attached in the Summit LinkedIn group, and it's also linked to in your Summit reminder email. Another way that you can engage is to follow us on social media and to watch for live updates. We are active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. And our wonderful communications coordinator, Rachel, will be posting in Twitter live tweeting. So I encourage you to follow us on Twitter and retweet those tweets, add your own comments. We do have a summit-specific hashtag, and that's #redevelopforward. So use that in your retweets and unique tweets, and we'll see if we can get some dialogue going. I want to issue a very hearty thank you to our many generous sponsors for standing by us as we moved this year's annual summit to a virtual platform. Our sponsors include Labella, Great American Insurance Group, Bousquet Holstein, Knopf Shaw, CNS Companies, Harris Beach, Cy Paget Bracel, Tennant Environmental, Weston and Sampson, Stantec, Clean Earth, and GEI Consultants. We couldn't have put this summit together without their generosity. So if you connect with them in LinkedIn or you exchange an email with them, thank them. I also want to thank our indelible Summit Organizing Committee for all of their insights and their suggestions and support in planning this summit. We couldn't have done it without them. Okay, and now I am actually going to turn it over to my colleague, Jean Hammerman, who will issue a few remarks of her own and introduce our keynote speakers.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to see so many returning summit participants as well as many new ones. I want to thank my colleague, Claire Weston, for her focused and hard work in organizing the summit, as well as our organizing committee and especially our sponsors. I am virtually clapping and I ask you to join me to acknowledge their leadership and engagement. There is no skirting the realities we are living through now, a global pandemic, an economic downturn, a movement for social change, and unprecedented impact of climate change. And while these are sobering times and many of us are anxious and just preoccupied, it is not the time to let up on the momentum we have built around brownfield remediation and land reuse. The work is still there to be done. Changes will be forthcoming at the federal and state levels, but we can affect outcomes in our communities, economic revitalization, climate leadership, and environmental health through our collective work and by extending assistance to others. For our 5th New York State Redevelopment Summit's kickoff, we chose 2 leaders who exemplify the will to carry on and impact local communities while engaging in national and state policy discussions. They will impart insights and perspectives from their respective vantage points, provide program updates, and share their vision for the way forward. First, we will hear from Pete Lopez, U.S. EPA's Region 2 Administrator. Prior to joining US EPA, Mr. Lopez served 6 terms as a member of the New York State Assembly. I had the pleasure of spending time with him at the Indian Nations meeting in Syracuse, where he impressed me with his ability to listen, reflect, and act. It is now my great pleasure to invite Administrator Lopez to address us.
Yes, thank you, my friend, and good morning, and thank you to all of our attendees. We're very pleased to be here to help kick off today's summit. So I am Pete Lopez. I'm the Regional Administrator for US EPA Region 2, which includes New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and 8 Indian nations. In addition to my work in the Assembly, I also served as a local official for 15 years. So in total, prior to this role, I served 35 years working in community, state, federal, local levels, now my 38th year of public service. And what I find is that engagement requires continued energy, passion, vision, interaction, collaboration, and really that's part and parcel of why we're here today. So I do want to thank my fellow keynoters, so Deputy Secretary of State for Development Planning and Community Infrastructure, so Kisha Santiago-Martinez. I'd like to thank Jean and Claire for their support and their guidance with the Center for Creative Land Recycling. Also would like to thank my colleague Terry Wesley, who's here from EPA. He's with our LCARD division, our Land Community Redevelopment division. I also am sorry that we're not here together face to face, but again, using technology to provide information and meaningfully connect is critical. And I have to tell you, and I know that you're here because you're passionate about this issue. And from my perspective, we all share a common goal. We all care about our communities. We care about the environment. We care about quality of life and other important priorities, economic development. And really, this engagement can really transform, and many of you know who've been in the field for many years practicing. So in our case, our function is mostly through brownfields. We have a brownfield redevelopment, our RCRA and Superfund engagements. And as with you, our priority is to protect the environment, of course, protect public health, but also look for ways to bring these properties back to life, to give them new meaning within their communities. And for many of us, and again, I'm here in my home village in Northern Appalachia in New York, rural New York, I've been here since I was 11 and was first elected as a trustee. I found that when you have a blighted property, whether it's from contamination or could be from flooding or some other event, that even one blighted property can shape a community. So to the extent that we find a path forward, we can identify those aspects that are impacting the properties in question and provide resources to help transform them. That means that we not only affect the property, but we also lift up our communities in the same breath. Now, again, the redeveloping Brownsfield's been part of our major engagement for many, many decades. Our inception of the program was in 1995. And in the last 25 years, we've been proving, and others have proven, that it's immensely successful. Again, we partner with our states. We know that New York State has a very strong and robust brownfield program. Even in the city of New York, we've had comments and conversation with them. We know that they are very aggressive with their redevelopment and land use engagement. So, as we move forward, and my colleagues had made some reference to the pandemic. So, for all of us, we carry that burden with us. We carry it on a daily basis, and we carry it as we try to advance our mission. All of us collectively advance our mission. But I would say to you that I have found within EPA, and I'm sure with you and with our colleagues across the audience here, that with technology, with communications, with our states beginning to relax some of the requirements, we have found a way to move the path forward. So some of that has required addressing our health and safety plans to address COVID. But we have been very, very pleased, I would say, to find ways to keep moving our projects forward. And again, I know that all of us share that eagerness to keep projects engaged, people in the field, see the real fruits of our labor. As we move forward, many of you know, and you folks, I know I'm talking to an experienced audience, we have many different aspects of our program, of the Brownsfield program. We have assessment grants, we have the revolving loan fund grants, we have cleanup grants, we have multi-purpose grants, area-wide planning funds, environmental workforce and job training grants. And just on that note, we find that piece in particular can be very helpful, particularly in communities that are very eager to retrain workforce, and they have portions of the community who are eager to engage constructively in the economy. So we're very proud of our workforce training component, something you don't really think of in a Brownsfield or a RCRA or Superfund engagement. But that piece, we're very proud of that engagement and the results that they provide for individuals. We also have technical assistance training and research funds. And then again, we have our state and tribal response program grants. So grants awarded by EPA across the country allow us to transform these contaminated sites. And I would just say to you, just with some statistics. So through our Brownsfield program, we leverage almost $17 per EPA dollar expended. So it just goes to speak to the testimony that public funds, not-for-profit funds, private sector money altogether really is the key to success. It's not just one program, just one funding stream that will drive a project. We've been able to leverage more than 150,000 jobs statewide or nationwide. When our cleanups are completed, the values increased by 5 to 15% near the Brownsfield sites. And of course, the local tax revenue that results with improved property and improved opportunity for community use. We trained more than 18,000 individuals from economically disadvantaged communities. And again, that gets back to that workforce training piece. More than 75% of those individuals can find full-time employment after engaging in these programs. In New York State alone, we've had well over 58 million of EPA Brownsfield grant funding awarded to states and communities, including 600,000 most recently to revolving loan fund programs in New York City and Niagara County. So these programs are an amazing investment in our future. We feel that, again, that leveraging of funds is key to success. So since its inception, just nationally, we've provided nearly $1.6 billion in brownfield grants to assess and clean up contaminated properties. That in turn has leveraged more than $31 billion in cleanup and redevelopment. Been a lot of conversation about opportunity zones, and I'll just pause on that for a second. So back to my premise that no one program, no one funding source, no one agency can necessarily drive a project by itself. So we've been reflecting on opportunity zones, and I'm sure many of you will do the same and are doing the same. Again, it provides another tool, another resource that could possibly help encourage investment and bring other partners to the table, provide additional benefits to program participants. So in New York, just for example, there are over 500 opportunity zones. We have some cases where entire communities are opportunity zones. And so again, where we have brownfield or Superfund engagement, I would just suggest if you haven't thought about it, look at that program for another resource to help attract and promote investment. So in the opportunity zone, just a quick note, just in closing on that fund, unemployment rate, which again is inflated, of course, by the pandemic, but even pre-pandemic, the unemployment rate in these zones was nearly 1.5 times higher than the national level. So to the extent that many of these zones exist, they're co-located with brownfield or Superfund sites, we see incredible opportunity for redeveloping communities and giving more hope, addressing environmental justice and other critical needs. I'll just hit two other uses. So back to brownfield sites, we've talked about quality of life, we talked about economic development. Also, I'm sure many of you have engaged or are aware of the potential for using these brownfield sites for energy generation. So in New York, there are a number of sites that have been repurposed for energy, solar fields, also within our region. Also New Jersey is very aggressive in that regard. So as we look at the sites, the energy piece to me has meaning. We also have instances where, back to economic development, just this week, we worked with the Washington Warren County Industrial Development Authority and local partners, state and local partners, to begin transforming a former PCB mitigation site, the Upper Hudson, where the dewatering facility that was used by General Electric for the PCB sludge is being transformed into a new business park. So we have one initial business locating. The IDA is very excited, along with the county legislature and others, to take that former site with the infrastructure, the attendant infrastructure, and turn it into something that can benefit, create jobs and opportunity in the community. So I don't want to take up too much more time. Again, I saw your agenda. It's a very productive, robust agenda. What I would say to you is that really the work, and for all of you who are on the ground, you really are the architects of change. So the vision, the support and promotion of home rule, the twining together of resources, the bundling of resources, really that's what makes these projects work. So I would say to you, and you'll hear from our other colleagues, to the extent that we can be of assistance, either from a programmatic or budgetary standpoint with our programs, but also, again, I would offer to you that we are very much, very happy to be on the ground working with the community. So please feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Terry, and again, thank you for your passion about this issue. And I'll turn it back to our program sponsors. And thank you again. Take care.
Thank you so much, Administrator. I do want to take a moment to commend the Region 2 staff, the Brownfield team under the leadership of Ariel Iglesias and Terry Wesley for their remarkable dedication in advancing our common goals around brownfield remediation and stronger communities. And I will use your term, architects of change. That really resonated with me. CCLR could not do its work effectively without a partnership with New York State Department of State. We work closely with Deputy Secretary Kisha Santiago-Martinez team in the Office of Planning, Development, and Community Infrastructure, led by Sarah Crowell and Dave Ashton, as well as with Paul Bayer, Director of Smart Growth. We intersect with them around the Brownfield Opportunity Area Program, where we saw a major win last year with grant funding integrated into the consolidated funding application, and with their signature downtown revitalization program and the local waterfront revitalization program, all cornerstones in smart land reuse planning. As New York State Deputy Secretary of State for Planning, Development, and Community Infrastructure, Kisha Santiago-Martinez leads the department's efforts to advance sustainable, equitable, and resilient development, promote downtown revitalization, expand New Yorkers' access to offshore wind energy, improve climate resiliency and mitigation at regional and local levels, and protect and restore the state's coastal ecosystems. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Deputy Secretary Kisha Santiago-Martinez.
Hey, Kisha, you're muted. You have a little gray phone, so somehow you're muted. Still muted. Let's see. One moment, everyone. We'll be right with you. This just takes a minute sometimes. Let's see here. Kisha, you need to enter your PIN. Just sent you your audio PIN and clicked it. Thank you for your patience and understanding, everyone. Sometimes these technical difficulties happen. It's part of the online experience. Kisha, why don't you try calling in again? Oh, there we go. Your audio thing is there. Now you just need to unmute yourself. You are there.
Oh, here we go. All right. Can you hear me now? I hope.
Oh, you muted yourself again. There we go.
Hello?
Yep, you're good. We can hear you.
Are we here?
You're here. Yep.
Can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Great. Good morning and thank you. Yeah, okay. Good morning and thank you so very much for inviting me to kick off the Center for Creative Land Recycling's 5th annual New York State Redevelopment Summit. I hope by now you have all voted, as today is New York State voting day, primary day, and that you've also filled out the census and made most of your virtual family gathering chats to get each of them to complete out the census as well. And I'm very serious, we all have a responsibility to help get all New Yorkers counted. It's critical. We all know that the CCLR conference is intense, fun, and re-energizing. I know it's hard to virtually recreate that buzz we normally feel when we're in the room together. You know that feeling when you're surrounded by mission-driven people who are putting the work in to really help people and transform communities. I know that I really miss that part. But of course, absolutely nothing will stop us. This work that we do, the learning from one another, it all collectively drives us. And frankly, we don't have the luxury to stop. We also can't slow down because the unstoppable Jean Hammerman and Claire Weston just won't let us. So thank you so much, Jean and Claire, and everyone else at CCLR for the hard work and creativity that went into organizing this event, reimagining it on a virtual platform. I would also like to thank and acknowledge the organizing committee, including members of my own staff at the Department of State. This is an amazing program with top-notch speakers that you've all pulled together. And mostly, I want to thank every single one of you attending and being a part of this event. Treating schedules with your spouse so that they can make a valiant attempt at keeping the kids out of the home office. Taking a break away from the nonstop emails and people who need your attention. Hitting pause on all of the creative ways you are adapting personally and professionally so that your team can be more agile. because at this point, we know that we have to be. The value of this summit is not in the presentations, but in the community that it creates. The opportunity for folks to interact, to share stories, and forge new connections, and to strengthen existing ones, and to help support each other in the challenging work that we do. You are part of an extraordinary network of community builders and shapers, and we at the state really need you to roll your sleeves up even higher. We are living in this very, very interesting time. It's hard, but there's more to it than just that. It's like when you go to a new city and you're walking and you notice that there's a street that curves just out of view. You can't see what's at the end of it. You have to follow it, and you just want to see what's around that bend. The losses from COVID-19 are devastating, and the devastation continues, and it's still being calculated. And at the same time, the gains to address systemic racism are coming in just as swiftly. We are living at a time where we oddly are trying to convince people that climate change is real and human activity is a contributor. And I have this growing anxiety that we will need to pull the arguments out for smart growth from the crate once more, because the early ferocity of the COVID-19 in the urban centers has caused some people to consider whether or not they should permanently move out of the city. It is a growing subheader in lifestyle articles. The COVID-19 crisis has brought to the forefront the inequities that existed, as the impacts of the pandemic have disproportionately fallen on the most disadvantaged and underserved communities, those already suffering from environmental injustice. And it is central in the work that we do every single day as we strive to revitalize communities and waterfronts scarred by the remnants of industrial legacy, by the presence of obsolete, abandoned, and contaminated properties, by the loss of employment and tax dollars, by crumbling infrastructure and a lack of community resources. We all know that when people with resources pick up and desert the cities, it has a detrimental effect, because that is why we are all here today. Because of deindustrialization, because of white flight and urban renewal. It has created pockets of poverty and disinvestment. Secondarily, these actions ended up feeding all the false pretenses that cause implicit and explicit bias. Lastly, running is not necessary. There are creative ways being stood up all over the state to bring not only businesses back, but communities back as well, albeit with social distancing. We need to do more. We need to do more, and we don't need to employ the same dichotomies. We need to remind people and show people that we are past that we are smarter than that we can do better than that. So like I said, it's hard. The future is scary, and there's something intriguing about it. They say this is the new normal, but we don't know what that really is. Where will we land? I'll tell you what the difference between our situation now and the 1930s, 50s, 70s. First, with the foundation with which we are starting. Governor Cuomo has invested millions upon millions of New York State tax dollars all throughout the state with a keen focus on plan-to-act strategies that have not only reshaped our communities, but reawakened intense community pride, which we know that together is a recipe for success. We've seen it happen with our own eyes. The rust was brushed off, the vacant properties returning to historic splendor, and completely reimagined in new ways we either never thought possible or that it just simply wouldn't happen here to us. Furthermore, the 2019 Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act not only establishes nation-leading greenhouse gas emissions reductions requirements, but also a strong commitment to disadvantaged communities, environmental justice, and ensuring a just transition to a low-carbon economy. Secretary of State Rossana Rosado is a proud member of the Climate Action Council, and our team at the Department of State are engaged and ready to go. Second, we know programs like the Brownfield Opportunity Area matched with the Brownfield Tax Credits, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, and Downtown Revitalization Initiative work. They work. We all know they work. Honestly, I can talk all day about the depth and diversity of the Department of State programs and how they help shape the state. And the last thing that makes it less scary is knowing you all are out there, not only working on behalf of communities, but genuinely working with communities. An overused term, I know, but rightly applied here, is that it's important now more than ever to come together as a community of planners, leaders, developers, and community members to talk about the work that we do to support equitable development and improve the quality of life for all New Yorkers affected by environmental injustice. We need to dig deep within ourselves and push ourselves to do more, to be more. And if I may be so bold, we need to make sure that we are treating the members of the community as the experts that they are of their community. Their perspective is invaluable, and it's not less valuable than the paid professionals in the room. So let's make sure we are treating them with the gravitas we would a member of the council. Lastly, we need to make sure everyone knows why we do this work, our experiences that led us here, like when I would walk in the blazing sun of summer from my constantly changing European immigrant community in Maspeth, through Ridgewood, the only part of the walk with trees and shade, through the barking dogs of auto repair shops in Bushwick, and past the scrap metal places in Bed-Stuy, New York, into Sumner houses, where if I was lucky, there was a community cookout happening. They give us perspective and meaning that we apply to our work. So the next time someone asks you what you do, don't just give them a title. Tell them why you do it, how you do it, so that they know there is meaning in your work, so that they can be inspired by it, learn more about the communities we serve, and learn why this is important. There is something so powerful about intention, especially honest, positive intentions. So let's keep exploring what's around the bend and make sure we are making every step of that block better as we walk through it. Before I close, I want to challenge everyone here to get 10 people to fulfill the US Census on behalf of their households. And when you're done doing that, hit me up on LinkedIn so that I know you've done it. This is critical to getting New Yorkers the resources we need. We all have a responsibility to do this. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always so thrilled to be a part of this event. And to quote Governor Cuomo, Excelsior.
Thank you very, very much, Kisha. That was wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us for this summit kickoff, and I am so deeply sorry about the issue with the earlier slides. One thing that's great about an online virtual summit, you get to do do-overs a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself going through those slides with the visuals in the background, and I'll see if I can stitch together that part in the beginning with the remarks from Administrator Lopez and Secretary of State. So that's what I'm going to do. So you can look out for that recording, which will take a little bit longer at this point, but you'll still get it. And beyond that, I can just say, remember my tips: join the LinkedIn group, download the handouts in your dashboard to actually view the full presentation. And if you have any questions, if you run into any trouble, here is my contact information as well as Jean's, and I really hope that you enjoy the rest of the summit and join us very shortly in just 45 minutes for our first webinar on land banking. All right, I think that is it, and we hope to see you throughout the rest of the summit. Be well and have a great rest of your day.